Some objects hold more weight than gold or diamonds ever could. They carry the weight of generations, of whispered promises, of memories woven into their very metal. My engagement ring wasn't just a ring. It was my grandmother's. She had worn it through 60 years of marriage to my grandfather. Through wars, relocations, births, and funerals. When she passed, my grandfather slipped it off her finger and pressed it into my hand, saying, "One day, you'll give this to the woman who deserves it. Make sure she knows what it means." So when I slipped that ring onto Emily's finger, the woman I had spent 5 years building a life with, it wasn't just a proposal. It was a continuation of a legacy. A promise not just between us, but one tied to my family's history. Emily cried when she saw it, not because of the size of the stone, but because of the story behind it. She knew what it meant to me, to us. She swore she'd honor it the way my grandmother had. For a while, everything felt perfect, except for my sister, Claire. Claire was the first to congratulate us. I put that in quotes because while her arms wrapped around me and her lips spoke kind words, her eyes told a different story. They flicked to the ring, lingered there too long, and for just a second, I thought I saw something sharp flash across her face. "It's beautiful," she said, her voice warm, but her grip on Emily's hand a little too tight as she inspected it. "Almost too beautiful, don't you think?" Emily gave a polite smile. "It's special to us." Claire nodded, but when she turned away, her lips curled, not in joy, but in something closer to envy. I brushed it off at first. Claire had always been a bit dramatic, prone to competitiveness. Growing up, she hated when I succeeded at something she hadn't. If I made the varsity team, she mocked the sport. If I got a scholarship, she suddenly didn't believe in college. Our parents chalked it up to sibling rivalry. But standing there, her eyes locked on Emily's ring, I felt the old tension rise in my chest. And let me pause here, because if you've ever had a sibling or family member who seemed unable to let you be happy, you'll feel what's coming in your bones. Betrayal rarely starts big. It starts small with subtle digs, little cracks in trust. And before I go further, let me say thank you for being here. Please subscribe, like, and share this video so more people can see that these stories aren't just entertainment, they're lessons. And if you've got your own story of sibling rivalry gone too far, I'd love to hear it in the comments. The weeks that followed were a blur of engagement excitement. We told family and friends, started sketching out wedding plans, and fielded endless questions about dates and venues. Claire was around often. At first, she seemed supportive. She'd offer to help with planning, suggest photographers, even volunteer to go dress shopping with Emily. But beneath her enthusiasm, little cracks showed. Once, while sitting in my parents' living room, she leaned back and said, "So, Em, how does it feel wearing Grandma's ring? Must be a lot of pressure knowing it's a family heirloom. I mean, it's not like you picked it yourself." Emily's smile faltered. "It feels like an honor," she said softly. Claire smirked. I guess it's just funny. Most girls dream of picking their own ring. But you didn't get that choice." I shot her a look. "Claire, knock it off." "What?" she said innocently, holding up her hands. "I'm just saying, it's a lot to live up to. Not everyone could handle that." Emily shifted uncomfortably, and I felt anger coil in my gut. Claire wasn't teasing. She was chipping away. Testing. Another time, Claire and Emily were in the kitchen while I was in the next room. I overheard Claire's voice, low but sharp. "You know, Grandma never really liked outsiders in the family. She always hoped the ring would stay with, someone who truly belonged." Emily's reply was strained but steady. "Your grandmother gave it to your brother. He chose me. That's what matters." Claire laughed lightly. "Sure, I just hope you don't lose it. Or scratch it. Or, I don't know, pawn it in a moment of desperation. It'd be a shame." My fists clenched. I nearly stormed in, but something stopped me. Maybe I wanted to see how Emily handled it. And she did. "I'd never do that," she said firmly. "This ring means more than money." But I caught the edge in Claire's tone, and it chilled me. She wasn't just jealous. She was planting seeds. At night, Emily confessed her unease. "Why does she hate me?" she whispered one evening as we lay in bed. She doesn't hate you, I said, though my own voice lacked conviction. She's just Claire. She pushes buttons. Don't let her get to you. But even as I said it, I thought of her eyes lingering on the ring, of her barbed words disguised as jokes, of the way she always seemed to mention pawning, losing, damaging, like she was already imagining the ring slipping off Emily's finger. And for the first time, I wondered if Claire's jealousy wasn't just petty sibling rivalry. What if it was something darker? One evening, we had dinner at my parents' house. The whole family gathered. Laughter, wine, the usual noise of clashing voices. Emily reached across the table at one point, and the ring glimmered under the light. Claire's gaze snapped to it instantly. Careful, Em, she said with a too-sweet smile. You wouldn't want to lose that down the drain or something. Emily forced a laugh, but her hand trembled slightly as she pulled it back. I'd had enough. Why are you always bringing up losing the ring? I asked sharply. Claire tilted her head, feigning innocence. I'm not. I'm just saying accidents happen. It's not like she'd mean to, but things get misplaced. My mother frowned. Claire, don't be cruel. Claire pouted. I'm not cruel. I'm realistic. Rings get lost all the time. Especially when they weren't bought, just passed down. The table went silent. Emily's cheeks burned. My father cleared his throat, changing the subject, but the damage was done. That night, Emily cried softly into my chest. Why does she keep doing this? She asked. I stroked her hair, fury burning under my skin. Because she's jealous. But don't worry. I won't let her come between us. I meant it. At the time, I thought that meant confronting Claire, setting boundaries, protecting Emily from her venom. I didn't realize then that Claire wasn't just making empty comments. She was laying the groundwork. And soon, the ring wouldn't just be a source of tension. It would become the spark that set everything on fire. Happiness doesn't always shatter with one hard blow. Sometimes it splinters slowly, little by little, until you realize the thing you thought was solid has been fragile for a long time. That's how life with Claire felt in the weeks after our engagement. At first, her comments seemed harmless, irritating, yes, but nothing that could do real damage. Emily brushed them off with grace, but I could see the strain in her eyes. Claire had a way of taking something beautiful and twisting it until it carried a sting. One evening, Emily and I had dinner with my parents, Claire included. The meal started light, full of laughter and clinking silverware. But as Emily reached for a bowl of potatoes, the ring caught the light. Claire smirked. You know, Em, you should probably get that resized. Looks a little loose. Wouldn't want it slipping off. Emily pulled her hand back, cheeks flushed. It fits fine. Claire shrugged. If you say so. I just hope you don't lose it. Imagine having to explain that to the family. Losing Grandma's ring before the wedding. My fork clattered onto my plate. Claire, enough. She widened her eyes, feigning innocence. What? I'm just being practical. Accidents happen. But her smirk betrayed her. She wasn't being practical. She was being cruel. After dinner, Emily and I walked home in silence. Halfway down the block, she stopped and turned to me, her eyes glossy. Why does she do that? She whispered. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Because she's jealous. She's always been like this. She can't stand when I'm happy. Emily bit her lip. It's more than jealousy. It feels like she wants me to fail. Like she's trying to drive a wedge between us. I wanted to reassure her, to tell her Claire's words meant nothing. But deep down, I knew Emily was right. Claire wasn't just teasing. She was testing. She was seeing how much damage she could cause with just a few sentences. The next time was at a family barbecue. The yard was full of laughter and smoke from the grill, kids running barefoot on the grass. I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be a peaceful day, until Claire struck again. Emily was helping my mom in the kitchen when I heard Claire's voice drift in from the patio, loud enough for half the family to hear. You know, I heard somewhere that a lot of women keep engagement rings for the money. They pawn them if things don't work out. Makes you wonder sometimes, doesn't it? The chatter quieted. Heads turned. Emily's face went pale. Excuse me. Claire sipped her lemonade, eyes glinting. I'm just saying it happens. A girl gets cold feet, realizes she can make a quick buck. Poof, ring's gone. Not saying you do that, Em. Just people talk. The insinuation hung in the air like smoke. I stepped forward, my voice sharp. Claire, enough with the pawn shop jokes. Nobody's laughing. She tilted her head, lips curling. Relax, I'm just teasing. You're so sensitive. But I saw the looks exchanged around the patio, the raised eyebrows, the half-hidden smirks. Her words had landed. Seeds of doubt had been planted, and no amount of protest from me could unplant them. That night, Emily sat on the couch, hugging a pillow to her chest. She's making people think I don't care about the ring. That I don't care about you, she whispered. I sat beside her, rubbing her back. They know you. They know that's not true. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Do they? Because when she talks, they listen. She's your sister. She has influence. And I can't fight her, Tom. If I defend myself, I look guilty. If I stay quiet, I look weak. Either way, she wins. I held her tightly, fury boiling inside me. Claire wasn't just poking fun. She was waging a quiet war. And Emily was her target. I tried talking to Claire privately. One afternoon, I cornered her in the driveway after she stopped by our parents' house. Claire, I said firmly, you need to stop. The comments. The digs. You're hurting Emily. She crossed her arms, smirking. Hurting her? She's too sensitive. If she can't handle a little teasing, how's she going to handle being in this family? This isn't teasing. You're undermining her. You're making her look bad. Claire's eyes narrowed. Or maybe I'm just saying what everyone else is too polite to say. Istir de here. And what's that supposed to mean? She leaned closer, her voice low. You don't know her like I do, Tom. You're blinded by love. But me? I see the cracks. And one day you will too. Her words sent a chill down my spine. From then on, I noticed everything more sharply. At dinners, she'd bring up money, asking Emily pointed questions about her job, her savings, whether she really planned to contribute to the wedding costs. At family events, she'd tell stories from our childhood that painted me as gullible, naive, always with a sly glance at Emily, as if to say, see how easy he is to fool? And always, her eyes drifted to the ring. The final straw came one Sunday afternoon when Emily and I visited my parents. As we sat in the living room, Emily reached into her purse for her phone. Claire's gaze snapped to her hand like a hawk. Still got the ring, huh? Claire said with a smirk. Guess it hasn't found its way to the pawn shop yet. My mother gasped. Claire, that's enough. But Emily's face crumpled. She stood abruptly, muttered something about needing air, and walked outside. I turned on Claire, my voice trembling with anger. Why are you doing this? What do you get out of tearing her down? Claire leaned back, unbothered. I'm just being honest. If she can't handle it, maybe she's not cut out for this family. I wanted to scream. Instead, I clenched my fists and stormed out to find Emily, leaving Claire smirking behind me. That night, lying awake beside Emily's sleeping form, I felt something heavy settle in my chest. Claire wasn't going to stop. She was escalating. And though I didn't know it then, the cracks she had been carving into our happiness were about to split wide open. Because soon, the ring wouldn't just be a source of tension. It would disappear. And when it did, Claire would already have her story prepared. A story sharp enough to turn suspicion exactly where she wanted it. Toward Emily. Toward the woman I loved. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day where nothing should go wrong. The kind of day where life feels steady, predictable. But betrayal has a way of choosing ordinary days, shattering them so completely that you never see them the same again. Emily and I had gone to my parents' house for dinner. It was just the four of us, Mom, Dad, Emily, and me. Claire had said she might stop by, but she was busy with errands. I didn't expect her. Dinner was pleasant. Mom fussed over Emily. Dad told stories we'd heard 100 times, and for a few hours, the tension of Claire's barbs wasn't hanging over us. Afterward, Emily went upstairs to the bathroom. When she returned, she looked off, pale, her hands trembling. What's wrong? I asked. She swallowed hard, her voice shaking. The ring. It's gone. The words hit me like a punch. What do you mean gone? I took it off to wash my hands, she said, panic rising in her tone. I sat on the counter for a second, and when I reached for it, it wasn't there. I bolted up the stairs, my heart pounding in my throat. The bathroom counter was bare. I searched the sink, the floor, even the trash bin. Nothing. Mom came up behind me, her hand over her mouth. Maybe it slipped into the drain? We called Dad, who fetched tools and dismantled the piping beneath the sink. Nothing. The ring was simply gone. The panic that followed was suffocating. Emily's face was white as paper, her eyes wide with guilt and fear. I swear, Tom, I only set it down for a second. I've never been so careless before. I grab her shoulders. I know. We'll find it. Don't blame yourself. But as the minutes ticked into hours, my reassurances rang hollow. We turned the bathroom upside down, combed the house, checked every inch of the hallway. No ring. It was as if it had vanished in a thin air. And then, almost on cue, Claire arrived. She breezed in the front door, carrying a shopping bag, smiling like she had all the time in the world. Hey, everyone, what's going on? Nobody answered. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. She scanned our faces, then her eyes landed on Emily, red-eyed, trembling, her hands twisting nervously. Claire tilted her head, feigning innocence. What happened? The silence stretched until Mom finally whispered. Emily lost the ring. Claire gasped, her hand flying to her chest. The engagement ring? Grandma's ring. Emily nodded miserably. It just had slipped off. I was washing my hands, and now it's gone. For a moment, Claire said nothing. Then slowly, her lips curled into the faintest smile, one she quickly disguised as sympathy. Oh, honey, she said, her voice dripping with concern. That must be devastating. But, well, these things happen. Emily shook her head frantically. No, you don't understand. I never take it off. I just didn't want to get soap on it. Claire cut her off gently. Of course. But, rings do go missing sometimes. Some people, well, they don't always appreciate what they have. My chest tightened. Claire, I warned. She held up her hands. I'm not saying Emily would do anything on purpose. I'm just saying it's odd, isn't it? An heirloom like that, disappearing so quickly. Almost like she trailed off, letting the silence finish the thought for her. Emily's face crumpled. You think I sold it? Claire's eyes widened with mock horror. Oh, no, I never say that. But people do strange things when they're under pressure. Wedding stress, money stress, who knows? I stepped forward, my voice trembling with fury. Enough. You're not helping. Claire sighed, her gaze sliding to the floor. I'm just being realistic. You should at least consider all the possibilities. The implication hung in the air like poison. The next few days were a blur of frantic searching. We tore through the house again, called plumbers, even checked local lost and found notices in case by some miracle it had fallen off somewhere else. Nothing. But no matter how hard we looked, one thing became clear. The ring was gone. And Claire was only too happy to remind us. At brunch with my parents, she leaned across the table, her voice low. Tom, I know you trust Emily, but don't you think it's a little strange? Rings don't just disappear. They end up somewhere. What are you trying to say? She shrugged. Nothing. Just, if it were me, I'd ask some hard questions. Emily excused herself from the table, tears streaming down her face. That night, she whispered to me, she's turning them against me. Every look, every question, they're starting to wonder if I really lost it. I hugged her tightly, rage boiling in my chest. Claire was winning. She had twisted the narrative so skillfully that even my parents, who had welcomed Emily warmly at first, now eyed her with a flicker of doubt. And the worst part? I couldn't prove otherwise. But deep down, something gnawed at me. Emily wasn't careless. She wasn't greedy. She wasn't a liar. I knew her better than that. But Claire had always been jealous, always been calculating, always had a way of turning situations to her advantage. and I couldn't shake the memory of the faint smile she'd worn when she first heard the ring was gone. The smile of someone who wasn't surprised. The smile of someone who already knew. That night, lying awake in bed, I whispered to myself the words I didn't dare say out loud. Claire took it. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But in my gut, I was certain. The only question was how I could prove it. Because until I did, Emily would be the one carrying the weight of suspicion. And Claire would keep her mask intact. For now, when something valuable disappears, people don't just look for the object. They start looking for someone to blame. And Claire, she was an expert at pointing fingers without ever lifting a hand. The days after the ring vanished were heavy with tension. Emily barely spoke. Every time she glanced at my parents, I could see the shame in her eyes, shame she didn't deserve. My parents tried to stay neutral, but their glances lingered just a little too long. Their words carried a little too much hesitation. And Claire? She was thriving. The first whisper came during a Sunday dinner. The table was crowded with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. It should have been a night of laughter and chatter. Instead, I caught the subtle glance my Aunt Lydia gave Emily when the subject of jewelry came up. Claire leaned back in her chair, her voice smooth, casual. You know, it's just so tragic about Grandma's ring. Family heirlooms are meant to be cherished forever, not lost. Emily froze. Aunt Lydia frowned sympathetically. How awful. You must feel terrible, Emily. Emily forced a nod. Edo. More than I can say. Claire sighed, shaking her head. Well, I suppose. Accidents happen. Although, sometimes I wonder if things are really accidents. Life gets stressful. People make choices they regret. The words slipped out like honey, but the sting was unmistakable. The conversation shifted, but the damage lingered. The whispers had begun. Later that night, as Emily and I drove home, she stared out the window, her voice quiet. They think I did it. They think I sold it. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. They don't know you, Em. They don't know your heart like I do. She turned, her eyes brimming. But Claire knows exactly what she's doing. She doesn't have to accuse me directly. She just has to plant the idea. And it's working. My stomach churned. She was right. The next week, my father asked me to meet him at his office. He cleared his throat, avoiding my eyes. Tom, I just need to ask you something. Don't get angry. I stiffened. What is it? He hesitated. Do you think it's possible, Emily? Well, maybe she panicked. Money's tight for young couples sometimes. Maybe she didn't mean to, but I slammed my hand on his desk. No, absolutely not. She didn't do this. He raised his hands defensively. I'm not accusing. Claire said. Of course she did. My jaw clenched. Claire is lying. She's twisting everything. But even as I spoke, doubt whispered in the back of my mind. Not doubt in Emily, never her, but doubt in my ability to shield her. If even my father was questioning, how long before everyone else believed Claire's narrative? Emily withdrew more and more. She stopped joining family dinners, stopped answering calls from relatives. One night, she broke down in our living room. They hate me, she whispered, tears streaking her cheeks. Every time I walk into a room, I feel it. The suspicion, the judgment. It's like they're all waiting for me to confess to something I didn't do. I pulled her into my arms, fury burning in my chest. You don't have to confess to lies. They'll see the truth eventually. But even as I said it, I knew the truth wouldn't reveal itself on its own. Not with Claire weaving her web. One evening, I caught Claire on the phone in my parents' kitchen. She didn't see me standing in the hallway. I'm just saying, it's odd, she whispered to whoever was on the line. One day the ring's there, the next it's gone, and Emily was the last one to have it. Doesn't that sound suspicious? She laughed softly. No, I'm not accusing. I'd never. But you have to admit, it's a little convenient. My fists clenched at my sides. Convenient. That was her word. Convenient for her. She ended the call and turned and nearly jumped when she saw me. Oh, Tom, she said smoothly. Didn't see you there. I stepped forward, my voice low. You need to stop. Her smile didn't falter. Stop what? Telling the truth. I narrowed my eyes. You're not telling the truth. You're telling stories. You're destroying Emily. She tilted her head. Or maybe Emily's destroying herself. You can't protect her forever, you know. The venom in her voice chilled me. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The doubt wasn't about Emily, never her. But it was about my family. Could I protect her from them? Could I undo the damage Claire had already done? Because every whisper, every glance, every comment was a blade carving into Emily's heart. And I realized something terrifying. If I didn't find proof soon, Claire's lies would become the truth in everyone's mind. And I'd lose not just the ring, but Emily too. The next morning, Emily didn't put on her ring finger band, the little placeholder I'd bought her when the heirloom vanished. She slid it into her jewelry box and closed the lid with a sigh. What are you doing? I asked. She shook her head. What's the point? Every time I wear a ring now, I feel like it's mocking me. Like people are staring, thinking, there goes the girl who lost the family heirloom. Her words broke me. Claire hadn't just stolen the ring. She was stealing Emily's joy, our engagement, the future we'd been building. And I swore to myself, right then, right there, that I wouldn't let her win. If Claire wanted a war, she was going to get one. But this wouldn't be a war of whispers. This would be a war of proof. Lies are delicate things. They can stretch and bend, but eventually they fray. And when they do, the truth peeks through the cracks. Claire had been careful, but no liar is perfect. I just had to be patient long enough to catch her mistake. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon. I stopped by my parents' house after work, hoping to find some quiet and maybe talk to my mom without Claire around. But as I walked up the front steps, voices drifted through the open kitchen window. Claire's voice. I froze, listening. Yes, I'll bring the slip tomorrow. Just hold it for me, okay? I told you it's worth more than that. At least $3,000. I'll pay the rest back in a week. A pause. Then her low laugh. Yeah. Don't worry. Nobody suspects a thing. My blood ran cold. She was talking about money. About something worth thousands. About nobody suspecting. I knew. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew. I forced myself to walk in casually. Claire sat at the kitchen table, her phone still in her hand. She jumped when she saw me, her smile plastered on a little too quickly. Tom, didn't know you'd be here. I glanced at the phone. Who were you talking to? She shrugged, sliding it into her pocket. Just a friend. Why? I studied her face. Her eyes flickered just enough to confirm it. She was lying. Sounded important, I said evenly. She smirked. Always listening, aren't you? Careful, people might think you don't trust me. I forced a smile. Should I? Her grin faltered just for a second before she brushed past me, muttering something about errands. And just like that, she was gone. But I'd heard enough. That night, I couldn't sit still. My mind replayed her words over and over. Worth more than that, nobody suspects a thing. I told Emily, who sat on the couch, clutching a pillow to her chest. Her eyes widened. You think she pawned the ring? I nodded grimly. It makes sense. She's been obsessed with it from the start. She planted the idea that you might sell it so nobody would suspect her. It's perfect, too perfect. Emily's lip trembled. But how do we prove it? I leaned forward. Pawn shops keep records, receipts, maybe even cameras. If she really did it, there will be evidence. Emily hesitated. What if you're wrong? What if she was talking about something else? Then we'll know, I said. But I don't think I'm wrong. For the first time in weeks, fire lit in Emily's eyes. Then let's find out. The next day, I left work early and drove to the strip of pawn shops across town. The first two turned up nothing, but at the third I got lucky. The man behind the counter was in his 60s, with a gray beard and a sharp gaze. Can I help you? He asked. I cleared my throat. I'm looking for something that might have been pawned recently. A ring, platinum band, antique setting, diamond center stone, family heirloom. He raised an eyebrow. We see a lot of rings. This one's different, I pressed. It's engraved on the inside. Forever FNM. His brow furrowed. Hold on. He disappeared into the back. My heart pounded as I waited. Minutes later, he returned, holding a small velvet pouch. He opened it. My breath caught in my throat. It was my grandmother's ring. I stared at it, a mix of relief and fury coursing through me. Relief that it wasn't lost forever. Fury that Claire had actually done it. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice shaking. He tapped a folder on the counter. "Came in last week. Woman pawned it. Signed the slip and everything." "Can I see the slip?" He hesitated. "Normally we don't." I pulled out my ID, my voice urgent. "It's a stolen family heirloom. Please, I just need to know who brought it in." After a long pause, he sighed and flipped open the folder. And there it was. Claire's name. Claire's signature. Claire's driver's license number written neatly across the page. The proof. The clerk looked at me sympathetically. "I'll need to hold on to the ring until the claim clears, but if you file a report, it'll be returned to you." I nodded numbly, snapping a photo of the slip with my phone. "Thank you." When I got back to the car, I just sat there for a long time, staring at the photo. My sister's betrayal was now ink on paper. Undeniable. Unforgivable. Emily called as I sat in the parking lot. "Did you find anything?" My throat tightened. I found everything. That evening, I spread the evidence across our kitchen table. The photo of the pawned slip, the notes I'd taken, the memory of the ring itself. Emily covered her mouth with her hands. Tears welled in her eyes. She really did it. I nodded. And she almost got away with it. If I hadn't caught that call. Emily's voice hardened. "We have to tell your parents." "Not yet," I said firmly. "If we go to them now, she'll deny it. Say I forged it. Twist the story again. We need to be smart." Emily looked at me, fear and hope mingling in her eyes. "So what do we do?" I took a deep breath. We wait. We gather more. And then we expose her in front of everyone. The next week was torture. I had the proof, but keeping it quiet felt like swallowing fire. Claire, meanwhile, acted smugger than ever. At dinner one night, she smirked across the table at Emily. "Still no ring, huh? Such a shame. Guess some things just aren't meant to last." Emily's jaw clenched, but she said nothing. I, however, looked Claire dead in the eyes and smiled. "Don't worry. Rings have a way of turning up in the most unexpected places." For the first time in weeks, Claire's smile faltered. And in that tiny crack, I saw what she'd been hiding all along, fear. Having proof felt like standing on the edge of a cliff with a parachute strapped on. I knew I could finally jump, but timing would mean everything. One wrong move, one premature reveal, and Claire could still twist it all back on Emily. I couldn't let that happen. So I decided to build a case so airtight, so undeniable, that not even Claire's silver tongue could wiggle her way out of it. The first step was the pawn shop. I went back the next day, folder in hand. The bearded clerk eyed me with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "You again," he said, folding his arms. "Yes, I need your help," I said firmly. "This isn't just about money. It's about clearing someone's name. My fiancé is being blamed for this." His expression softened. He reached under the counter and pulled out the slip again. "You already took a photo." "I know," I said, "but if this goes public, Claire will say I doctored it. I need certified proof." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "I can make a notarized copy. And if it comes to it, I'll testify. Been in this business 30 years. I don't take kindly to liars." Relief surged through me. "Thank you. You don't know what this means." He grunted. "I know betrayal when I see it, son. Blood or not, your sister's playing you." His words stung, but they also steeled me. Next, I talked to Emily. We sat at our kitchen table, the documents spread between us like weapons. Emily traced the signature with her finger, shaking her head. She really thought she'd get away with this. I squeezed her hand. "She won't. But we need more than paper. We need a witness. Someone else who can say, without question, that Claire was the one who pawned it." Emily bit her lip. "Like who?" I leaned back. "Her friends. She can't keep her mouth shut. If she bragged about pawning it, someone knows." Sure enough, 2 days later, I got a lead. One of Claire's so-called best friends, Marissa, posted a cryptic Facebook status. "Money problems make people do crazy things. Guess some folks would sell their own soul if it sparkled enough." I messaged her privately. "Marissa, please, I know you're talking about, Claire. She didn't reply at first, but the next day, she agreed to meet me at a cafe. When I walked in, she looked nervous, twisting her straw wrapper between her fingers. I shouldn't even be here, she whispered. Claire will kill me if she finds out. She already destroyed my fiancé's reputation, I said evenly. She doesn't get to keep doing this. Please, Marissa, did she tell you she pawned a ring? Marissa exhaled shakily. She bragged about it, said Emily would take the blame, and the money would cover her credit card debt. She thought it was clever. I thought it was disgusting. My chest tightened. Would you be willing to say that? To my family? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. If it comes down to it, yes. Emily doesn't deserve this. I thanked her, sliding my folder across the table. I'll add your statement. But when the time comes, I need you there. Claire needs to hear it from someone she trusts. Marissa's lips trembled. She won't forgive me. She'll have to live with it, I said coldly. By now, my folder was thick, the pawn slip, the notarized copy, Marissa's written statement. But something still nagged at me. Claire was manipulative. Even cornered, she'd find a way to twist sympathy back toward herself. I needed one last thing. Something visual. Something nobody could argue with. So I asked the pawn clerk a bold question. Do you have security footage? He chuckled. Of course. Cameras everywhere. Why? Because I need it. If I can show them her walking into your shop with that ring, there won't be a shred of doubt left. He rubbed his beard. You're lucky. We keep recordings for 60 days. She came in last week. Minutes later, he pulled up the grainy video. And there she was. Claire, my sister, walking through the door, ring in hand, sliding it across the counter, smiling as the clerk counted cash into her palm. I filmed the playback with my phone, my hands trembling. When it ended, the clerk looked at me with pity. That's your sister, huh? I swallowed hard. Not anymore. That night, Emily and I sat in silence. The video paused on Claire's smug smile. Emily's voice was hoarse. It's perfect. They can't deny it. I nodded. No more whispers. No more doubts. She'll be exposed in front of everyone. Emily looked at me, her eyes fierce. Where? The family dinner next week, I said. Everyone will be there. Aunts, uncles, cousins. The same people she's been poisoning with her lies. That's where we'll end this. Emily shivered. She'll hate us forever. She already hates you, I said quietly. But after this, she won't have the power to hurt us again. In the days that followed, I played the scene over and over in my head. Claire, standing tall, maybe even cracking another joke at Emily's expense. The family nodding along. And then me, interrupting, pulling out the folder, dropping the truth like a hammer in the middle of the table. I imagined their faces, the gasps, the silence, the realization that Claire's halo had been a mask all along. For years, she'd been the golden child, the one who always knew best. But in one moment, she'd become the villain in her own story, and I'd be the one to write the ending. 2 nights before the dinner, I got a text from Claire. Can't wait to see you and Emily this weekend. Hope she's keeping track of her jewelry this time. Winky face. I stared at the screen, my teeth grinding. Emily looked over my shoulder, her face pale. She's still mocking us. I slid my phone away, a cold smile on my lips. Let her. She has no idea what's coming. Family dinners had always been noisy affairs in my parents' house. Long tables crowded with food, kids weaving between chairs, laughter bouncing off the walls. But this time, as Emily and I walked through the door, it felt like a stage. A stage where everyone had already chosen their roles, except they didn't know what mine would be. I carry my bag carefully, the folder tucked inside like a weapon waiting to be drawn. Emily's hand was in mine, clammy but steady. Her jaw was set, though I could feel the tremor in her fingers. You don't have to say anything, I whispered as we stepped inside. I'll handle it. She nodded, her eyes searching mine. Just don't let her twist it again. Please. I squeeze her hand. She won't. Not this time. The living room was alive with chatter. My uncles argued about football. My cousins passed around plates of appetizers. My mom fussed with the drinks. And then there was Claire. She was perched on the arm of the couch, drink in hand, laughing with Aunt Lydia. She wore a bright red dress, her hair styled perfectly, her makeup flawless. She looked like the picture of confidence. No, the picture of control. When she saw us, her smile widened. "Tom, Emily, you made it." She stood, arms outstretched as if nothing had ever happened. Emily stiffened beside me, but I forced myself to hug her briefly. Her perfume was sharp, suffocating. Claire leaned back, her eyes flicking to Emily's bare left hand. "Still no ring, huh? Such a shame. Maybe next time you'll pick one you can actually keep." Laughter rippled softly among a few cousins. Emily's face flushed. I clenched my jaw but said nothing. Not yet. Dinner was served, the long table groaning under roasted meats, casseroles, bread, and wine. Conversation flowed, but beneath it all was a subtle tension, like everyone was waiting for something. Claire played her role masterfully. She poured wine for the older relatives, made jokes, asked questions about work and school. And always, she found a way to circle back to Emily. "So, Em," she said sweetly halfway through the meal, "how's wedding planning going? Must be stressful, especially without a proper ring to show vendors. Did they give you funny looks?" Emily's fork clattered onto her plate. Her lips trembled, but she stayed quiet. Claire tilted her head innocently. "Oh, don't take it the wrong way. I'm just curious how you explain it." Aunt Lydia frowned. "Claire, really?" But Claire just sipped her wine, smugness radiating from every inch of her. I forced myself to stay calm. Not yet. Timing was everything. Dessert was served, pies, cookies, ice cream for the kids. The noise of the room rose again, but I barely heard it. My heart pounded in my chest as I waited for Claire to make her final mistake. And she didn't disappoint. She leaned back in her chair, swirling her glass of wine, her eyes glittering. "You know, it's funny. People keep asking me what really happened to that ring. And I always tell them, I don't know. But deep down, don't we all kind of know?" The room went quiet. Emily's face went pale. Claire smirked, her gaze fixed on her. "I mean, I'm not saying anyone here would pawn it, but if someone were desperate enough." That was it. I pushed my chair back, the sound sharp against the floor. The chatter died instantly. Every eye turned to me. "Funny thing, Claire," I said calmly, "you keep talking about pawning. Almost like it's on your mind a lot." Her smile faltered, but only slightly. "I'm just being realistic, Tom. Rings go missing. People talk." "Do they?" I asked, my hands slipping into my bag. "Or do you talk? Do you plan ideas and hope they stick? Because I think it's time everyone saw what you've really been up to." Her smirk wavered. "What are you doing?" I pulled out the folder, laying it flat on the table. The room fell silent except for the sound of paper sliding across wood. "This," I said, "is the truth." Gasps rippled as I pulled out the first sheet. A notarized pawn slip, Claire's signature scrawled across the bottom. "Recognize this?" I asked, my voice cold. Claire's eyes darted to the paper. "That's fake." "It's certified," I said. "Straight from the pawn shop where you sold Grandma's ring. For $3,000. You signed it with your own hand." Murmurs rose around the table. Aunt Lydia covered her mouth. My father's face darkened. Claire laughed nervously. "That doesn't prove anything. Anyone could have." I cut her off by pulling out my phone. I tapped the screen and set it in the middle of the table. On the screen, the grainy video played. Claire walking into the pawn shop. Claire sliding the ring across the counter. Claire smiling as cash was counted into her hand. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, a sharp cry from my mother. And Claire? Her face drained of color. I leaned forward, my voice steady and sharp. "You stole our grandmother's ring. You pawned it, and then you blamed Emily. You turned the whole family against her, knowing she was innocent." Claire's lips trembled. "That's not enough," my father thundered, slamming his fist on the table. His voice shook with fury I'd never heard before. "Claire, how could you?" Tears filled my mother's eyes. "Your own brother's fiancée? Your own grandmother's heirloom? How dare you?" Cousins muttered. Uncles shook their heads. Aunts looked away in disgust. Claire stood, her hands shaking. You don't understand. No, isnapat. We understand perfectly. You were jealous. You wanted to ruin Emily, and you thought you could get away with it. The silence that followed was crushing. Claire's eyes darted around the table, desperate for an ally. But every face she met was cold, angry, disappointed. For once in her life, she had no one left to manipulate. And I wasn't done yet. The silence after the video ended was deafening. You could have heard the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the ticking of the clock above the mantel, even the faint creak of the wood beneath our feet. And in that silence, Claire's world collapsed. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no words came. For the first time in her life, she didn't have a comeback. She didn't have a lie sharp enough to cut through the truth that was right in front of her. My father broke the silence first. Claire, his voice shook with rage. Do you realize what you've done? Do you even understand the level of betrayal this is? Claire's eyes darted wildly around the table. I had debts. I didn't mean... You didn't mean? My mother cried, her face pale with grief. You didn't mean to steal from your brother? You didn't mean to tarnish your grandmother's memory? You didn't mean to humiliate Emily? Tears welled in Claire's eyes. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I said coldly. Emily sat frozen beside me, her eyes wide, her hands trembling. For weeks, she had carried the weight of suspicion, the whispers, the sideways glances. Now, watching Claire unravel, I saw something shift in her. Relief, vindication, strength. I reached for her hand under the table, squeezing gently. It's over, my touch said. She can't hurt you anymore. But Claire wasn't ready to let go of her lies. She slammed her hand on the table. Fine. Yes, I pawned it. But only because I knew Emily didn't deserve it. She's not family. She doesn't belong here. Gasps rippled through the room. Emily flinched, but I leaned forward, my voice sharp as steel. You think family is about blood? Family is about loyalty, about trust. Emily has shown me more love and honor than you ever have in your entire life. You lost the right to call yourself my sister the second you tried to destroy her. Claire's face twisted, her mask of confidence shattering completely. You're choosing her over me? I stood, towering over her. I'm choosing truth over lies, integrity over jealousy, and love over whatever poison it is you've been carrying in your heart all these years. The room exploded with voices. How could you, Claire? Aunt Lydia demanded. You always were selfish, muttered one of my cousins. She pawned Grandma's ring. Uncle Rick shouted. Unbelievable. Claire backed away, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. You're all against me. You've always been against me. No, my father said firmly. You did this to yourself. Emily finally found her voice. She rose slowly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. For weeks, I let you make me feel small. You made me doubt myself. You made others doubt me. But not anymore. Everyone knows the truth now, and you'll have to live with what you've done. Her words landed like a hammer. Claire's shoulders sagged, her lips trembling. But no apology came. Only silence. I reached into my folder one last time and pulled out the photo I'd taken of the ring, safely waiting at the pawn shop. I held it up for everyone to see. This ring will come home, where it belongs. But it's not the metal or the stone that matters. It's what it represents. And Claire tried to steal that, too. She failed. I turned to Claire, my voice low but lethal. This family may forgive you one day, but I won't. Not for this. Claire's face crumpled. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came. And then she turned and fled the room, her heels clattering against the hardwood floor, the front door slamming shut behind her. The silence that followed was heavy. Then, slowly, my mother began to cry. My father placed a hand on her shoulder, his jaw tight, his eyes burning. I sat back down, exhaling for what felt like the first time in weeks. Emily leaned against me, tears streaming down her face, but this time they weren't tears of shame. They were tears of release. It's over, I whispered into her hair. It's finally over. The rest of the night blurred. Family members came to us one by one. Apologies, hugs, words of support for Emily. My cousins who had once exchanged skeptical glances now clasped her hands and said, "We're sorry. We should have known better." My father, usually stoic, placed his hand over Emily's. "You are part of this family. Don't ever doubt that again." Emily's eyes brimmed with gratitude. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt truly seen. Later, as we drove home, the city lights flashing past the windows, Emily whispered, "You saved me." I shook my head. "No, you saved yourself. You held on, even when everyone doubted you. I just helped bring the truth to light." She smiled softly, the tension finally easing from her face. "I love you." I squeezed her hand, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure nobody ever treats you like that again. Reflection came in waves that night. Claire hadn't just stolen a ring. She tried to steal our future, our trust, our happiness. But betrayal, no matter how sharp, can't outlast the truth. And the truth had cut her down louder than any accusation ever could. And to you, watching this unfold with me, thank you for staying until the very end. Stories like this aren't just drama, they're warnings. Family can betray you in ways you never expect, but silence only protects the guilty. If you've ever been gaslit, blamed, or framed by someone you trusted, know this. The truth has power. Use it. Please subscribe, like, and share this video so more people can see how lies unravel when the light hits them. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your own sibling stole from you and then blamed the person you love? As for me, I already answered that question. Not with fists, not with whispers, but with the truth. And the truth was enough to bring everything crashing down.